Hi, this is Craig. Welcome to The Lair, and this is another episode of Role-Playing Riddles and Random Encounters. Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about something that's near and dear to me, and that is backstories for player characters. Some people that don't think they're important, some players, and they are important because, and I'm going to break down what the importance is to the campaign, to the Dungeon Master, and hopefully to the players as well. Some of the things that I've heard in the past, because I've had about 4 different gaming groups in 30 years, and I ask the players when I'm the Dungeon Master, oh, so tell me what your backstory, and I get answers like, my guy is an elf and he's from the woods and his parents were killed by orcs. That's my backstory. And I'm like, that's all you got? And they're like, why? Just make an adventure. We're going to kill stuff. And I'm like, well, your backstory influences the campaign. It influences things that happen. Your interest of your character affect how your character would approach things, where he would travel, what he would look for, all this kind of stuff. So generally, you don't want to have a generic backstory. You want to put time into it. You want to sit back for an hour or two when you're at work, or if you're at school during homeroom or whatever you're doing, whether you're a teenager to an adult, and you're going to want to put some time into it because it does affect things, and I'll explain how it affects things for everybody. So the first thing is of the pieces for backstory that makes sense is why. Why do I need a backstory? Well, it's content. It tells the Dungeon Master or Game Master, depending on if it's D&D or if it's some other game system, what you are looking for your player. Do you focus on machetes? Do you focus on finding fire magic as a spellcaster? Do you focus on trying to find an ancient artifact from Bacab, who's your deity and you're a cleric, and this is really special and it's an ancient lost holy symbol? Whatever it is, I mean, you can research stuff on your own, read some books, read some novels, whether it's Ravenloft, Forgotten Realms, whatever it is, and you can pull stuff out, talk to the DM before you write the backstory, while you're writing it, and you can figure out, goals. What are my goals? Do you want to look for Excalibur, King Arthur? Or what are you looking for? I mean, Indiana Jones has a backstory when we all watched the movies, and it was really cool when River Phoenix played that, and we saw what happened and what went down and what drives Indiana. So in the third movie. So it's that sort of thing that makes us all care. So it makes the Dungeon Master care, it should make the player care, and it matters. And a good Dungeon Master will take these little pieces and he or she will craft a world where these things will touch base now and then. So that's the why. Next, or the why. Next is the what. So what does it matter if there's a backstory? Well, it has to do with good storytelling. The Dungeon Master is the ref. He runs everything, or she runs everything, and the players are in the sand pile. They're playing in the yard. The DM creates everything, but it's no fun if there's no backstory to glean off of. Like if a character says, I really want to create potions, when I'm higher level. Great. Then the DM can bring up a guy who's a potion maker, and it can influence that character, and they can become apprentice when there's no adventuring going on or whatever. And maybe the character's whole dream, or the player's whole dream, is to have this character to make his own strength potions. So even if the character goes all the way to 15th level, the only thing they ever really want is if they can have strength potions, like 4 or 5 on them at any given time, and they can drink them, jack up their strength, and it's almost like something from a cartoon that they saw when they were a kid, and it's exciting. So it isn't always about power and gold and glory. Sometimes it's about just making your little your little nuance kick in, and that one or two cool things about your character that happen. And if you can get that to happen during the game, or you can accomplish that, great. So that's the what. And then there's the where. How does it affect the backstory? Well, it could affect it a lot. What happens if you were a drow from the Underdark and you're up for the first 5 adventures and you're up on the surface, which is normally where stuff takes place, since it's not usually in the Underdark, because that's like Death City, and it would be just really dark and always awful and horrible. I've done worlds where it's Evil World. One time I did a campaign for 2nd edition called Evil World, and the guys did it about a year, and they said, we can't do this anymore. This sucks. I mean, basically, a real apocalypse would really suck. The Walking Dead come to life would be horrible. Vampires controlling the world would be horrible. I mean, you want to live in the light and have bad things come out in D&D and you can beat them. You don't want to live in the dark and you're the only light. But, so the where would be, as a drow, eventually you run across more drow and maybe you do a couple adventures in the Underdark, and because your backstory gives in depth about how, let's say, you lived with the Illithids for a while in the Underdark, then if you did that, then there might be a connection, there might be some information about that could be gleaned, and that would really help the story. So locale is a big deal when you connect the dots to backstory. So good backstory is really important. I've had, when I play a character, I've had weak ones and strong ones, and or it's a development. I mean, sometimes people aren't very creative, and they like D&D for different reasons, like especially if you're a mechanic player and not a role-playing player, but it's all good. The last thing is who. You know, who your character is for their backstory. Like, who am I? So, you know, the self-development and the self-discovery of your character, and it does matter. If you start off as a peasant and you work up to be a king, and you have a goal, and you say in your goal is, I intend to be the lord of a land someday, and you put it in your backstory, that's something a DM can work with. They can run with that. They could tell the players, oh, there's a kingdom that was fallen and it was destroyed by monsters, and there's still a smattering of people. So that one player in the group goes, oh my God, I can actually do this. You guys, let's go there and let's find all these farmers and people and bring them together, because there has been no kingdom in this land for 100 years. And you start wiping out monsters and bringing the villages together, and then all of a sudden you have a community, and you bring them towards the former capital, which is now ruins, and now that capital is your base of operations, and so on and so forth. And the DM works with that, and his whole campaign for the players is based on that one character, to be a king. And the other players are like, cool, man, and they just go along with it, because in the end of it, they're all lords, and he's the king, you know. But it's like King Arthur and the Round Table with all the players, where they're all, you know, comrades. Because just because one person's a king in this scenario doesn't mean they have to be a dink. But anyways, so that's it. Why, what, where, who. Backstories matter. So just wanted to point that out to you guys. This week for the riddle, because at the end of every episode, unless I specifically say otherwise, there is a riddle. The riddle is short, long, soft, straight. It was once believed to live past an uncertain date. Short, long, soft, straight. It was once believed to live past an uncertain date. That's the riddle. So there's a contest I'll do at the end of the year. Who answers the most of the riddles right, and put it in the comments. It would be great if you guys followed me, and if you liked me, that'd be fantastic. So I hope you liked the episode about backstories. Hopefully it gives you some insight as a player or DM. And this is Craig signing off from the Lair.